introduce our next speaker. He is Mr. C.J. Kosalaraman. He is Managing Director and Chief Architect of InfraB Project Management Consultant Private Limited. He is a successful architect having 22 years of experience, not only in the healthcare field, besides that he has got experience in other areas also, like your education, residential, commercial and hospitality sector also. He is a licensed architect in US and India, and he has not only worked in our country, besides that he has worked in US, UK and China. Now I would like to request Mr. Kosalaraman sir to have his thought about scientific planning of the hospital.
Thank you, sir. A very good morning to all of you. Hope you can hear me. I have my session is about 20 minutes, so I'm going to talk about healthcare infrastructure from an architect standpoint.
So whatever points that comes in NABH is basically taken from National Building Code actually. So of course NABH is there, so it's a very good document that you can use to design your facility as well as run and operate your facility. What are the top 10 mistakes many of the doctors or promoters make? These are the key things that I want to talk about. Top 10. So they don't do a market study actually first. So first thing would be to do a market study first, so that they understand the potential, the gap analysis that's needed for your hospital, so that you can have the right mix, right departments in the hospital that you're planning to build actually. Second one is decide how to operate the facility. How do you plan to operate? Do you want to operate by yourself, or you want to have a group of doctors or promoters who are going to join together, join hands and build this and run this facility? Third one is formation of appropriate entity, fulfilling the vision actually, which can be types of setup, sole proprietorship or partnership, bank accounts and all the regulatory features. Fourth one is a zero in on the property. Many a times what happens is doctors come to me and say, I have agricultural land, I want to build a hospital. So you can't do that actually. You have to convert the land to public use or institutional zone, which takes about a year and a lot of money over the table and under the table, unfortunately. So that happens there. So doctors get, unfortunately, they are naive maybe, so they buy a land which is agricultural land, and when it comes cheaper, they say it's cheaper, they put their hard-earned money and get that land, but unfortunately they don't know that they can't build a hospital. Okay, so be careful about that. Then mobilize funds, which I already talked about, mobilizing sufficient funds so that you don't run into debt actually, you don't have a distress sale later. So basically make sure you have enough funds, otherwise don't do the project. So this way you're well prepared for the future and success of your hospital. Then form internal core. So because it could be your spouse, or it could be your father, mother, father-in-law, mother-in-law, whoever it is, or a family member or a close friend, whoever it is. Basically internal core team, so that they can help you in building your dream actually. So it's very, very important. Appoint consultants, of course, project managers become very popular, then architects, engineers, other consultants, design consultants are there, a lot of them are there, so good teams are available. Then number 8 is apply and obtain various governmental approvals. This is very, very important. So the statutory compliance is getting very stricter for hospitals, because it was always violated or mostly violated, unfortunately. So if only you can, and you can definitely build a hospital following all the norms. There are certain norms that you have to, basic norms that you have to follow. For example, fire code. See, if an average age in an IT building is about 25 years old. So if there is a fire, a 25-year-old can run, jump, do whatever he wants. He can do gymnastics, he or she. But whereas in a hospital, they can't run. So most of them are patients. So you have to take care of the safety of them, fire safety. So if that is the case, you have to make sure all the governmental approvals is gotten, so that you can, once you build your hospital, nobody can come and tell you that you violated and give me money. Okay, so that's number 8. Number 9 is appoint qualified contractors who have done hospital projects of similar size. Whoever it can be, a vendor or whoever it can be who should have done a hospital. So that it's easier for you to talk to them in terms of that. So they already have an experience. So if there is anything to do about infection control, so the AC vendor who is going to install the AC or air handling units, he understands that word infection control, simple as that. Otherwise you have to handhold him and explain to him. It's like your doctor saying, asking a non-doctor to do a surgery on behalf of you. As and when you dictate, you're going to do the surgery. So it's not going to happen actually. Then make available smooth flow of funds for faster completion. It's very, very important. So these are the top 10 mistakes I would like any doctors or promoters not to make, so that they can be very successful in the projects. So these are the key slides. Now, just giving you an overview of what's design actually about, or what is the science behind. So first of all, if you have a piece of land, what you do first is master plan, which means on day one, you don't need all the departments. Day one, you don't need to build all the 100 beds or 500 beds, whatever it may be. We can build what in stages. So it can be, but the plan has to be there. The master plan has to be there on day one, which means you need to know where your block goes, main block goes, your admin block goes, your additional block goes. So as and when you have revenue coming in, you can start building those blocks. Site planning. So what is master planning? One is the master plan. One, you come to the site, then wherever there could be some existing building in the site. So make sure where your buildings is. The building on the lower left corner, which is in the white in color, is where we located one of our projects actually. Then site planning. So that's a closer view of that actually. So where your entry is, where your parking is, where your building is located. So these are very important. Then space program. So what happens is, there might be a site, there might be a wish list from your side, but all your wish lists cannot go inside this building because there's only X amount of square foot that you can build actually. So we'll prepare a space program so that, and you allot spaces for each department actually. So once you allot each department, then you will know whether you'll be able to fit it inside your department or not. And accordingly, you can decide the bed mix, the departments that you need, and all those things actually. So there is a science behind it. So you can come up with the right mix of departments, specialties, everything within your facility. Again, what is the design process? We start about blocking and stacking. So which means, which department are located near which department. So adjacencies are talked about, then stacking is talked about. So it's easy. Stacking means one department over the other. So typically what we do is we have all the non-sterile zones in the lower levels, semi-steriles in the mid-level, and the highly sterile zones in the top level. That's the typical approach, so that we reduce the number of traffic to keep the maximum number of traffic to the lower levels actually. Of course, once as an architects, architects and engineers, we prepare drawings like this, detailed drawings, and finally we issue it for construction actually. So some of the keywords that you need to be aware of is floor space index, FSI, built up area. FSI is nothing but how much you can build in your plot. So anything beyond what the government says is all full violation. It's up to your risk to build it above. So some of them, if you can maintain this FSI and you are able to build your hospital within that FSI, it's fantastic. And in my opinion as an architect, yes, you can do it because you can share some of the spaces. It's up to operations, basically how you operate the facility. Then ground coverage is how much you can build in that site. Of course, one of the key things is road width actually. So the building, the amount of built up area that you can build on your site is one of the key factors is the road width. You can't build a hospital on a 20 feet road. Some of them come to me and say I have a 20 feet road, but I have 1 acre site which accesses that actually, but you can't build it actually. So minimum at least 30 feet, at least. Your ambulance can't even go in a 20 feet road. So these are the questions I get from the doctors in tier 2 and tier 3 towns actually. So, and building height, of course, 15 meters is high rise and 30 meters is a multi-story building. So beyond 30 meters, the hospital will not get approval. So up to 30 meters you could get approval. Of course, one of the key things in healthcare is intensive is this MEP system. It's called MEP, which is mechanical, electrical and plumbing. Mechanical, nothing but your AC systems, where all your air handling unit and everything comes in play for your OTs as well as your ICUs. Then electrical systems, of course, it's a highly intensive fire detection, data, voice and surveillance, safety. Even nurse call falls under the electricals actually. And plumbing system is your plumbing, health engineering and fire protection systems again. So all these are all fire protection per the NBC, National Building Code, that you will have to follow, or the local bylaws that's there in your town or the city wherever you are from. Project management is one of my favorite subjects where doctors don't have time sometimes, or many times they don't have time to go and coordinate everything at the site level. So what we do is something called project management, where we coordinate all the services with all the various vendors, contractors, everything, so that we'll meet the deadline, project deadline on time. So usually doctors take loans to start building their projects. So the sooner they finish and complete on time, the better they can start servicing their loans. So if that's the case, there's one additional person who can come in and help up coordinate everybody. Actually, there is almost 50 vendors or 50 entities, 50 minimum for a 100-bed hospital projects. If you start taking, the number of vendors who want to come in and start working, there will be 50 of them minimum. and you can go up actually. So doctor may not have time to coordinate with all these 50 people. So these are some of the works that they do actually. Design management, construction management, cost planning, schedule management, so making sure that, therefore you also need, as a doctors and promoters, you need cash flow projections also, which these people do. These are some of the additional services that they do. Then there is a key information modeling, the key software that is there in the industry, in the construction. It is called building information modeling, which many of you may not know. So this is becoming very popular, where they prepare almost virtually build the hospital actually. So basically they put in all the information inside and it builds a hospital in real time actually. So this is a real time view of this. So it creates real time views, as well as it prepares something called bill of quantities, BOQs, which means absolute exact list of quantities of how many windows, how many square foot of tiles, how many square foot of false ceilings, so that you can be near accurate for your cost of construction, so that you will know what is the light at the end of the tunnel. Otherwise you never know actually. So this tool really helps out, and it's becoming very popular these days, and it's called building information modeling. And it also helps in clash detection. So what happens is, when there is one of the most complicated project types is healthcare or hospitals. Residence is the easiest one, I would say, and the most complicated is hotels, and on top of that is healthcare, because you got a lot of medical gases and life sensitive services systems are there actually. So to coordinate all these things and to reduce the breakage and rebuilding, this will be very helpful actually. So this I just want to share with you so that you are aware of that actually. So it detects and fixes the clashes, providing BOQs is easier for costing and budgeting for the project, to visualize of course, and early commencement and seamless construction. So this really saves a lot of time actually. Again, going back to my last slide again, which is your key takeaways, again I just want to show you back this same slide, because this is where most of the doctors and promoters fail for you. So with that, I just conclude my 20 minutes presentation. I hope you have some valid information that you can take home today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Any question for Mr. Kosalaraman?
Yes, sir.
Clearly defined for the wood. I think so.
Yes, sir. Correct.
There is any other guidelines which give some ideas about the OT infrastructure?
Sir, I think you should refer to NABH.
There also it is only related to the how to monitor the infection control and other things, not the infrastructure related things.
So that's it's mostly on infection control mainly. So they leave it up to the individual to make sure that infection control is maintained. So when you look at NABH talks about the total square footage that they give, and number two, they talk about.
They not even talk about the total square feet and all. They are talking only about the how to the AHU, how they maintain, how the temperature and air pascal, and how the pressure to changes at all. Not about the how to build an OT and what are the size of the what the size to be the required.
So size is there actually. So size is there.
Previously.
Yeah, they have removed it. Yeah, 1 minute, sir.
And I'll answer that. Basically, again, it depends. The size will depend on what use you are going to put that OT for. There is no one size fit all. Okay. If it's a cardiac OT, your OT size is going to be bigger than a regular OT. Orthopedic OTs require slightly intervening size. Your minor OT will be slightly smaller. It goes like that. If you're going in for hybrid OTs, then it's a completely different class of OT, so the sizes are much different. So it all depends on what you're going to do in the OT.
But there is no standard for that, how much minimum square feet required per annum?
There is no minimum square feet required. It depends on what your OT is going to be used for. Minimum is there, yes. 400 square feet is minimum, don't go below it. But again, even that standard has been diluted slightly, where you're retrofitting the OTs into old buildings where that 400 square feet is not available. You have to be judicious in seeing to it that your surgeons and your anesthetists are not compromised as far as space is concerned.
So to adding to that, NBC is more of for life safety actually. So if there is a fire in the OT, how do they escape?
Yeah, that and all okay. But I don't know whether there is any norms for it. Somebody is saying in the American IA or operation that are
ASHRAE standard, yeah.
That they mention about the OT size, whether it is in the Indian standard they mention about any OT size.
Actually, does not mention. Actually, it's again air conditioning.
Okay.
Actually, it's only air conditioning. It's not OT. They define clean rooms and clean room air conditioning.
Yeah.